Hey everybody, welcome to the Vintage Baseball Card of the Week this week. Well, if you were in the hobby back in 1981, you know why I picked this card, the 1981 Topps Joe Charboneau. If you weren't in the hobby, let me tell you a little story about this guy. He was the 1980 American League Rookie of the Year, who had quite an unusual story behind him. He came from a pretty difficult background and had a hard time in life growing up. He didn't make it to the minor leagues, and he played for a couple years. He quit baseball in 1977, then he gave it another try. He got re-signed, and a couple years later, he ended up making the Cleveland Indians in spring training 1980 when Andre Thornton went down with a season-ending injury. In the first game of the season, he got a home run, which was his first major league hit, and then at the Indians season opener a few days later, he had a home run in that game too. And the legend of Super Joe was born. Joe had a bunch of stories surrounding him and his difficult upbringing. Things like he could open a beer bottle with his eye socket, he could drink beer through his nose. I'm going to list a bunch of the other stories that surrounded him. He really became kind of a mythological, fable character, really more of a character in Cleveland. You know, back then Cleveland didn't have a whole lot to be excited about with the Indians. But this guy caught fire with the city. There was even a musical group that cut a song called Go Joe Charboneau that reached number 3 or number 4 in the city that year on the 45s chart. So this guy had quite a following behind him. Ended up winning AL Rookie of the Year. He had really a decent year. But then, man, it fell apart really quickly for Joe Charboneau. In spring training 1981, when this card came out, he injured his back on a head-first slide, and he just was never the same again. He hit really poorly. The major leagues went on strike that season. When he came back, he got shipped down to the minor leagues. And really, for the last couple of years of his career, he was between the minor leagues and the Indians. In fact, he has the record for the fewest number of games played by a Rookie of the Year winner, something like 201 games. That's all. He was done with the Indians after 1983. The Pirates picked him up, and he was in the minors in 1984 when he got his release. Now he is a hitting instructor for Notre Dame College in Ohio and is a baseball ambassador with the Indians. He's still a very popular player in Cleveland today. And if you were around back in 81, you know that this was a card that a lot of us wanted to get. We didn't really have high demand rookie cards back then. I would say Fernando was probably the closest thing, or one of the first rookie cards we collected. But Joe Charboneau was definitely one of the cards that you wanted to get. He had an 82 card, and you can see his stats on there. They weren't very impressive the second year. He only played a few more games in the majors. And that was it for Joe Charboneau. If you have any questions, thoughts, or recollections about Super Joe Charboneau, drop them below. And thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next week. And collect what you love.